What if I told you the most dangerous man in human history was almost nobody, a failed artist, a homeless drifter, a man his own generals called a joke? So how did that man end up commanding an empire that murdered millions? The answer isn't what your history books told you, and it's far more terrifying. Germany, 1919. The air smells like ash and rot. World War I is over, but for Germany, there is no relief, only humiliation. Imagine an entire nation, broken, hungry, ashamed. Soldiers returning home to find no jobs, no dignity, no future. The German mark, the national currency, is collapsing in real time. People are burning it for warmth because it's worth less than firewood. Children go to bed hungry. Men who once wore medals now beg in the streets. And sitting in a cheap, dim room in Munich is a 30-year-old man with burning eyes and a head full of rage. His name is Adolf Hitler, and right now, nobody knows who he is. He's a nobody, a failure, a man who was rejected, twice, by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, a man who spent years sleeping in homeless shelters, selling watercolors on street corners. But he has one extraordinary gift. He can speak, not just talk, not just argue. He can ignite a room. He can take a crowd of broken, desperate, humiliated people and make them feel like warriors, and in a country starving for someone to blame. That gift was more dangerous than any weapon. Munich, the beer halls, 1919 to 1923. It starts small. A back room, 50 people, smoke-filled air, and the smell of cheap beer. Hitler joins a tiny fringe political group, the German Workers' Party. Barely 40 members. More of a pub club than a political movement. But the moment Hitler opens his mouth at his first meeting, everything changes. He doesn't speak like a politician. He screams. He weeps. He pounds his fists. He tells these broken men exactly what they want to hear, that their suffering isn't their fault, that Germany was stabbed in the back, that there are enemies within, that someone must be held accountable. The room goes electric. Word spreads. 50 people becomes 200. 200 becomes 2,000. But here's what most people miss, what the textbooks skip entirely. Hitler didn't rise because people were stupid. He rose because the system had already failed them. Germany's new democratic government, the Weimar Republic, was trying to hold the country together with tape and prayers. Crippling war reparations demanded by the Treaty of Versailles had bled the economy dry. Unemployment, hyperinflation, street violence between communist and nationalist militias. The middle class, doctors, teachers, shopkeepers, watched their savings evaporate overnight. These were not uneducated people. These were desperate people. And desperate people make desperate choices. By 1921, Hitler is the undisputed leader of the renamed National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazis. He designs their imagery with psychological precision. The bold red banners, the black swastika, the thunderous rallies. Everything engineered to overwhelm the senses, to make people feel part of something unstoppable. And then, he decides to take power, violently. Munich, November 8, 1923. Hitler looks around at Italy, where Mussolini has just marched into Rome with his black shirts and seized control. He thinks, I can do the same. The plan is audacious, reckless, almost absurd. He will storm a beer hall in Munich where the top Bavarian government officials are meeting, hold them at gunpoint, and force them to support a coup, a revolution, starting in a pub. For one brief, chaotic night, it almost works. Hitler bursts into the Bürgerbräukeller with 600 armed men. He fires a pistol at the ceiling. He announces, The national revolution has begun. The crowd is stunned. The officials are terrified. But by morning, it collapses. The officials escape. The army refuses to join. The police move in. On November 9th, Hitler marches his men into the streets of Munich anyway, nearly 2,000 of them armed and chanting. They are met by a line of Bavarian state police. Shots are fired. 16. Nazis die. 4 police officers die. Hitler runs. He is found 2 days later hiding in a friend's attic. He is arrested, charged with treason, and by all accounts of history, his story should end right here. Landsberg Prison, 1924. Here is the moment history gets truly disturbing. A failed coup. A treason trial. Most men would have been destroyed by this, their political career finished, their names synonymous with humiliation. But Hitler turns the courtroom into a stage. He speaks for hours in his own defense, not defending himself, but attacking the government, the judges, the Treaty of Versailles. The newspapers cover every word. The trial makes him famous. Across Germany, millions of people who'd never heard of him, are now reading his speeches over breakfast. He is sentenced to 5 years. He serves 9 months. And in those 9 months, in a comfortable prison cell with a view of the mountains, he writes a book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle. In it, he lays out, in explicit detail, exactly what he intends to do. The hatred, the plan, the vision of a German empire built on the elimination of those he deemed inferior. It was all there, every word. The world read it, and did not believe he meant it. Germany, 1929 to 1933. Hitler learns his lesson from the failed coup. No more street revolutions. He will take power legally. And then the world hands him the perfect weapon. The Great Depression. Wall Street crashes. The American economy collapses. And because American banks had been propping up Germany's fragile recovery, Germany falls harder than almost anyone. 6 million unemployed. Bread lines stretching around city blocks. Families torn apart. The Weimar government, already weak, now looks like it is actively failing its people. The Nazis surge in elections. 2% of the vote in 1928, 18% in 1930, 37% in 1932. Hitler runs for president against the legendary war hero Paul von Hindenburg, and loses. But loses close enough to terrify the establishment. And here is where the real story happens. The story of how power is not always seized by force. Sometimes it is handed over by frightened men who think they can control the monster they're inviting inside. Germany's conservative elites, wealthy industrialists, aging politicians, former generals, they despise the communists who are also surging in popularity. They need a weapon against the left. They look at Hitler and they think, we can use him. He's loud, but he's manageable. We'll put him in office, pull his strings, and keep him under control. On January 30th, 1933, President Hindenburg appoints Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. The trap had been set. But not for Hitler. For them. Berlin. February to August 1933. Hitler moves fast. Within weeks, the Reichstag, Germany's parliament building, burns to the ground. To this day, historians debate who truly set the fire. But Hitler doesn't wait for answers. He blames the communists. He declares a national emergency. And he convinces a panicked parliament to pass the Enabling Act, legislation that gives him the power to rule by decree. No more votes. No more debate. In 4 months, he has abolished democracy. In 6 months, all other political parties are banned. Trade unions, crushed. The press, controlled. The courts, corrupted. And when Hindenburg finally dies in August 1934, Hitler merges the offices of Chancellor and President. He makes the entire German military swear a personal oath of loyalty, not to Germany, to him. The men who thought they could control him stare at what they've created and realize, too late, that they were never in control at all. What follows is 12 years of darkness so severe it reshaped the entire planet. A world war that kills an estimated 70 to 85 million people. The Holocaust, the systematic, industrial murder of 6 million Jewish people and millions more. Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, gay men and women. Cities reduced to rubble. Families erased. Entire cultures nearly extinguished. Hitler himself dies on April 30th, 1945, as Soviet troops close in on Berlin, by his own hand, in a bunker beneath the ruins of the city he once ruled. The 1,000-year Reich he promised lasted 12 years and ended in ash and silence. But here's what we must never forget. He did not rise in spite of civilization. He rose through it, through democratic elections, through legal procedures, through the willing cooperation of educated, sophisticated people who told themselves they knew better. History teaches us that monsters come in darkness, that evil announces itself with horns and fire. But that's not how it happens. It happens in economic despair, in communities starved of hope, in the gap between what a government promises and what ordinary people actually experience. It happens when frightened people trade their freedom for the promise of strength. It happens when reasonable people decide that this demagogue is useful, that this extremist can be managed, that this crisis justifies bending the rules. Just this once. Hitler did not hypnotize an entire nation. He offered simple answers to genuinely complicated pain. And that is the most important truth they don't teach you. Because the conditions that created him are not unique to Germany, are not unique to the 1930s. They are part of the permanent human story. And the only defense against them is remembering exactly how it happened. Every time, without looking away. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.